When you watch a Hollywood movie where a heroic British soldier fights off the Axis powers, the bravery is inspiring. But the financial machinery that funded the West's wars and built its modern wealth was extracted by breaking the backs of Indian ancestors. This chart shows the global economy in the year 1599. That massive bar represents India. At the time, India was an economic titan, producing 25% of all global manufacturing, with a modern equivalent value of $21 trillion. Britain, by comparison, barely registered. The trigger for what came next was mundane. Dutch traders, who controlled the European spice routes, raised the price of black pepper by 5 shillings. Frustrated by the hike, 125 regular London merchants pooled together £72,000 to start their own spice trading startup. On December 31, 1599, Queen Elizabeth I granted this startup a royal charter. The document gave this private corporation the legal authority to mint its own money, write its own laws, and wage war, which leaves us with a massive historical paradox. How exactly did a private startup of 125 shareholders, with no state army, manage to swallow a $21 trillion global superpower? The company's initial strategy of direct military force was a complete disaster. In 1686, they sent warships and cannons to attack Bengal, but the vastly superior Mughal Empire crushed the corporate fleet almost immediately. The company's executives quickly realized they couldn't win a fair fight, so they pivoted to subservience. The company's leaders physically bowed, begged the Mughal emperor for forgiveness, and paid heavy fines just to keep their trading posts open. They decided to wait. After Emperor Aurangzeb died in 1707, the Mughal Empire began to fracture into smaller independent states. The company capitalized on this instability, using corporate bribes and even offering medical favors to a sick emperor to secure a highly lucrative free trade decree in 1717. By 1757, the new Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Daulah, realized the company was overstepping its boundaries and seized their factories. Faced with losing their most profitable region, the company turned to internal subversion. The East India Company sent an executive named Robert Clive to handle the situation at the Battle of Plassey. Clive knew he was outmanned. Instead of fighting a tactical battle, he used corporate funds to buy off the Nawab's own army commander, Mir Jafar, along with a wealthy local financier. The company didn't conquer Bengal through military genius. They executed a hostile corporate buyout. By installing Mir Jafar as a puppet CEO, the startup gained total, unopposed control over the region's vast resources and tax revenues. This flowchart illustrates the company's devastating dual-system tax trap. They separated the collection of taxes from the purchase of goods. The company collected Indian tax revenue and then used that exact same money to buy Indian merchandise. They effectively got the goods for free, shipping them to Britain at a total profit. To maximize shareholder returns, the company immediately tripled the tax rate on the local population. All that wealth flowed straight from the pockets of local farmers directly into corporate ledgers. Prioritizing profit margins over human survival had horrifying consequences. The company's aggressive extraction triggered the 1770 Bengal famine. In a region known for agricultural abundance, up to 10 million people starved to death. The executives in charge were ruthless about maintaining their revenue targets. They actually collected the tax quotas of the dead by forcing the starving survivors to pay double. The company then weaponized this stolen wealth to fund further violent acquisitions. They hired massive mercenary armies, methodically eliminating local rulers and rival European competitors to monopolize the entire subcontinent. What started as a modest spice trading venture in London had mutated into a localized, heavily armed extortion racket. The East India Company became so obscenely wealthy that its executives began buying up seats in the British Parliament. They used their massive capital to execute a corporate capture of their own government, passing laws that protected their monopoly. The corruption eventually became too glaring to ignore. In 1858, the British Parliament passed an act that stripped the company of its power. The state stepped in, bailing out the corporate mess and officially transferring control of the empire to the British Crown. When you calculate the total damage, the numbers are staggering. Economist Utsa Patnaik analyzed the historical tax and trade data and found that over the course of 200 years, the company and the British government methodically drained $45 trillion from India. That stolen wealth didn't just disappear. It built Europe's railways, financed the Industrial Revolution in North America, and funded the enormous debts of 2 world wars. Meanwhile, India's own industrialization was deliberately suppressed, leaving them without the capital to modernize. We are often taught that the modern capitalist global system was built entirely on Western innovation and free trade. But the historical ledger shows that much of this success was subsidized by centuries of forced extraction and unrecorded corporate theft. There is, however, a strange final entry in this story. The East India Company still exists today, but it was bought out by an Indian businessman, and now it simply sells luxury tea and coffee.